Look, relationships aren't always as straightforward as we want them to be. Especially in today's world of constant distractions and endless options. You might think she's with you and you're the only guy on her mind. But what if I told you that sometimes there are subtle, almost invisible signs that she might actually be seeing someone else? And no, I'm not talking about the obvious stuff like sudden secrecy or her being glued to her phone. I'm talking about things you'd never think to question. Small behaviors that, on the surface, seem harmless or even normal. But when you put them together, they paint a completely different picture. A picture where you're not the main character in her life anymore. That's right, guys. You could be her plan B. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make you suspicious, jump to conclusions, or ruin your relationship. I just want to give you the tools to notice the signs so you can be real with yourself and make informed decisions. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to break down the not-so-obvious signs that she might be keeping someone else around. The signs that most guys miss because they don't see them coming. These signs aren't always glaringly obvious, but once you start paying attention, you'll see the patterns. So, let's get into it. 1. Her affection feels scripted. Let's start with one of the hardest to spot but most telling signs. Her affection starts to feel scripted. I'm talking about when the warmth, the spark, the little moments of genuine connection just aren't there anymore. Sure, she might still say all the right things, but something about the way she does it feels forced, almost like she's following a script. Here's the thing. When someone is genuinely invested in you, their affection is alive. It's spontaneous. It's full of energy. It makes you feel connected. But when her affection starts to feel like a checklist, when it's a quick hug, a casual "I love you," or a half-hearted kiss, you'll notice the difference. It's like she's just going through the motions to keep things stable, but her heart isn't fully in it. And here's where it gets tricky. She might still tell you what she thinks you want to hear. She might say things like, "I miss you," or "I care about you." But there's no real feeling behind it. It's almost mechanical. And the worst part? She might even be doing this to avoid suspicion, to keep you feeling secure while she's emotionally or physically elsewhere. Think about the little ways she used to show you she cared. Maybe she reached out for your hand without thinking. Maybe she looked at you with a spark in her eyes, or remembered the tiniest details about what made you happy. Now, if her affection feels rehearsed, like she's putting on a performance, that's a red flag. It might mean her emotional energy is going somewhere else. I get it. It's tough to acknowledge this. Nobody wants to feel like they're on the receiving end of a half-hearted performance. But if her affection is lacking that spark, if it's not making you feel connected like it used to, it's a sign she's emotionally checked out. And once that emotional distance sets in, it often means there's someone else occupying the space in her heart where you used to be. I'm not saying you need to confront her immediately. What I am saying is this: start observing, take mental notes, and trust yourself enough to see things as they really are. You deserve a real, authentic connection. 2. Her schedule suddenly becomes unpredictable. At first glance, this might not seem like a big deal. Life gets busy, plans change, people have things to do. But if she used to be super consistent, always free at certain times or eager to make plans with you, and now her schedule is all over the place, that's a signal. Think about it. If someone is genuinely into you, they'll make time for you. But when someone is juggling multiple people or trying to keep certain options open, suddenly their calendar becomes unpredictable. She's not just unavailable, she's randomly busy. One minute she says she can't make it on Friday, and then suddenly she's available last minute on Sunday, but only for a short time. Here's the thing. When you're important to someone, they make plans around you, not without you. But when her availability becomes sporadic, it's her way of hedging her bets. She's keeping her schedule flexible, likely for someone else, while trying not to let you catch on. The worst part? You're left feeling like she's just spontaneous or busy. But in reality, it's more likely she's balancing you with someone else. I know this might seem like she's just being flaky, but trust your instincts. Women don't suddenly shift like that for no reason. Her behavior on social media. Now, I'm not saying you need to turn into a detective, but if she's suddenly curating her online presence in ways that don't quite add up, it's worth noticing. Social media is a window into how people want to be seen, and sometimes it's a mirror of what's happening in their private lives. Here's what to look for. Changes in her content. Maybe she used to post pictures of the two of you together, but now it's all solo shots. Or worse, pictures with captions that scream single life. If she's suddenly posting more selfies, going out with friends, or adding cryptic captions like living my best life or finding myself, that's a signal. She's not just doing it for herself, she's likely sending a message to someone else. And don't overlook the classic move, the story updates. You know what I mean, those subtle, I'm out having fun posts. Quick shots of her at a new spot, dressed up, laughing. It might seem harmless, but when there's a sudden spike in these types of posts, especially if they're strategically timed to late nights or weekends, it's like she's putting out a look at me signal. If she's seeing someone else, these posts are a way to hint at her availability or get someone's attention without being obvious. 4. Her behavior with her phone around you. Phones are private. We all value our space. But there's a difference between privacy and secrecy. When someone has nothing to hide, they're usually pretty relaxed around their phone. But if she's suddenly treating her phone like a classified document, that's when you need to start paying attention. For example, you're sitting together, her phone buzzes. Instead of casually checking it, she flips it over. Or she suddenly stops replying to texts around you, only to become glued to her phone the second you leave. These aren't just habits, they're tells. If she used to be open with her phone, letting it sit on the table or texting around you, and now she's guarding it like a hawk, that's a shift. 5. She's no longer curious about your life. When someone is genuinely invested in you, they want to know about your life. They ask questions about your day, your friends, your goals. If that suddenly changes, if she stops showing curiosity, it's a sign her interest is divided. 6. She's hesitant about future plans. When someone sees a future with you, they're excited to plan for it. But if she's seeing someone else, she'll be hesitant. Bottom line, if these signs aren't adding up, it's time to trust your gut. Relationships require openness, honesty, and mutual investment. Don't ignore the red flags.